Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Daly and this is my video response for discussion board number 2. So this discussion board is all about grading. And in regards to the first question about how will I work grades in the grading process in my future classroom, one thing I feel very strongly about is emphasizing to students that grades are not punitive, that they're supposed to be a way to track progress. I think too much nowadays grades are tied to a lot of student anxiety, and so that makes it harder for them to perform sometimes because they feel that pressure to need to be perfect and to get wonderful grades all the time. When in actuality, I truly believe that students learn a lot more from failure than they do from kind of breezing through a unit. So I think that struggle is really important to the learning process. And so that's one thing that I really want to emphasize when I do grading within my classroom, is that the grades aren't a punishment, that they're not supposed to, be something that's really bad, that this is more of just a way to notify students and parents and kind of track how they're doing and how they're mastering a concept. So that's just kind of the whole framework for how I want to structure grading in my classroom. And so with that in mind, a lot of the grading and grades in my classroom are going to be built on self-evaluation, reflection, progress, more than just right or wrong. So as a way to keeping students informed of their progress during the grading term, what I plan on doing is, I really enjoy the idea of a thematic unit-based or project-based curriculum, and so I think that having conferences with students throughout that unit is going to be a way to keep them informed on how they're doing. And so, in the middle and then again at the end, sitting down and talking with them for a couple minutes about how do you feel about how you're doing, this is what I'm seeing from you, what I think you need to work on, so that then they know, by the midpoint of what they need to be doing if they're not doing so great, in order to get where they need to be. I also think it's really a great idea to have students track their own grades throughout the entire curriculum, because then not only are they being informed of how they're doing overall, but then they also get to have that intrinsic motivation spiked when they realize, I'm doing better each week, or really taking the time to be maybe I didn't do so great this week in comparison to last, what changed? And so that then they kind of become more aware of not only what they're doing that's leading them to success, but they also just gain a little more insight into, how they're actually doing since they're involved in the process of, keeping track of their grades. And I also think it's going to be important to keep kind of a portfolio of their work so that then students can go back and they have a hard copy reference of the graded material, just so that they know what's considered quality work. Maybe if we do an assignment more than one time, they can go back and see why one assignment got graded a little better or why one assignment was a little worse, so that then they can also have that reference. And then as far as the next question about how will achievement be monitored and recorded during the grading period, what I said about that is that the achievement will really kind of be monitored through that grade tracking program, so that then they can see when they've reached that level of achievement that they're going for. For some students that may just be passing, for others it may be getting 100, for someone else it may be improving their score by 20 points. But getting to the point where they can really track that achievement and see when they've met the goals that are set for them. And then I also think that as far as it's going to be, I would really love to do it unit by unit, so that then students can see when they've reached that level of achievement. and they can notice through grade tracking, like, if they've reached a consistent trend of achievement, of passing, doing well on the assignments, or meeting and reaching their goals, so that then they kind of know when they have a handle on the actual content. And then, so as far as the next question, that's about how will effort and knowledge be weighed in your grading. So knowledge is going to be weighted more heavily in the classroom because that's kind of the purpose of school, to gain that knowledge. And so, in order to keep track of, whether they're mastering a concept or not, there is going to need to be a little more emphasis on the actual obtainment of that knowledge and the demonstration that they can apply the concepts. But effort will also be rewarded because, if you're not, are you truly learning something if you're not having to work for it? I don't believe so. I feel like a lot of learning is actually having to put in the effort and to try, because then you're having that challenge aspect of learning that's really going to make you think and learn something new. So effort's going to be rewarded. Like, I'm thinking at the end of each unit, what I would love to do is have kind of a self-evaluation where students can really look over and kind of grade on, like, what did I do to help me do better within this unit? What are some practices I did? Like, when I did each assignment, how well did I feel about turning them in? Questions like that, to really have them reflect on, am I doing my best work? And then what's going to happen is I'm also going to look over those evaluations and see whether or not I agree with if they graded themselves fairly. If they did not, then there will be a conference about that, or, a little evaluation sheet I will give back to them. And their score and my score will be averaged out, and what will happen is that evaluation will be worth a major assignment grade within the unit, so that then that effort is still being graded and weighted in the final grade in an impactful way, so that they know that it's an important aspect of the actual unit. That I am going to be looking for, that effort that they're putting in. So then, as far as the next question, how does good or bad behavior affect grading? What I kind of said about that is I think that behavior and effort are tied pretty closely. Like in the self-evaluation that I would like to do after each unit, to kind of evaluate effort put in, part of that is going to be about behavior, because how can you say you're putting in a lot of effort if you're interrupting class, if you're being disruptive, if you're getting in trouble? Are you really contributing in a meaningful way to the content? And are you really creating a good learning environment for everybody else, as well as for yourself? So I think that good behavior is necessary for a good grade, because if not, then if you're demonstrating bad behavior, then you're creating not a good learning environment for everyone else. And then, as far as the choice question, I chose to talk about in what ways might increased family mobility require teachers to take a different approach to classroom management than previously used. So when I was really thinking about this, I was thinking about a very, mobile population, like migrant workers, or the children of student migrant workers, I guess, to be more exact. And so I think how that would affect classroom management is that a lot of the goals would need to be shortened in their time span. Because if you're working with a population of students that are children of migrant workers, a season lasts 3 months, and then they're moving on to the next place. And so, what's the point of having a semester-long goal and trying to contribute to reaching that goal when you're not going to be there to reap the rewards. And so I think that it's definitely going to be more of an emphasis on shortening goals to, you know, like having the longest goal be like 3 weeks. So, you know, instead of saying, if you can reach, 100 like pride points by the end of the semester, we'll have an ice cream party. Maybe it's like if you can get 10 pride points a week for the next 3 weeks, then we'll have a popcorn party or something like that. And so I think it's just going to be kind of shortening those goals, as well as making the actual classroom management techniques that are being implemented being easier to learn. And so it's not something that needs a lot of practice, has a lot of procedures. It needs to be something that it's going to be very easy for new students who are joining a classroom to get a handle on. Because, say if you have a mobile student population, there's going to be a lot of people coming into the classroom as well as a lot of people leaving. And so it's going to be important to make sure that everything you're implementing in your classroom to encourage good behavior and classroom management are going to be easy to understand. But that's my discussion board post for this week. I hope y'all enjoyed, and I hope everybody has a wonderful week.